Hi, and welcome to Stimming and Stilettos. Today, our guest she's phenomenal. Dr. Gladys is here, and she's going to tell us about her story, and I can't wait to hear it. So, Gladys, tell us about your story.
Okay, well, I consider myself a late bloomer because by the time I discovered STEM, I was already in college. I was married and already had children. I do not recall anything memorable in primary school or secondary that sparked any interest in STEM. I don't recall anything hands-on. I remember taking the classes, but there just wasn't any interest there. However, once I went to college, I started, science courses are required. So I started taking some science courses and I just developed this appetite. It was like an abyss. It was like, wow, you can learn so much. So I started taking an array of science courses. And what happened was apparently my passion for it was recognized, and I worked really hard, and one of my instructors, she nominated me for an award for doing well with biology instruction, and I actually got the award.
Well,
And then from there, it led me to go to the university, because I started off at a 2-year, then I went to the university, and there I had the opportunity to actually teach anatomy and physiology. And once they liked my work, and then they asked me to actually mentor international doctors. So it was just very unexpected. I mean, that's all I can say. It was like, I like to say that science found me, and so, and I just loved it so much that I just kept taking science courses, and I still have that same appetite because there's always something new to learn.
nice. Ooh, so I love that. And so so you've been teaching and you've been working. So are you still teaching?
Actually, yeah. So what happened was by me having that exposure, actually at Georgia State University, and I was a head TA and everything, and I also got an award there too for instruction, which was really amazing. What happened was having that experience allowed me to get a science lab supervisor position at a college, and the bonus was teaching as well. So I oversaw the microbiology, biology, physics, chemistry, geology. So I was managing all of those labs, and I was really immersed in it. So it wasn't just that I was overseeing them. I was actually doing preparations. I was dealing with an array of faculty. I was managing students. I was, doing inventory. So it was a multifaceted type of job. And, so it allowed me to acquire the skill sets even more than what I had acquired at the college, the other college.
So, so what is, and this may be a question you don't ask a scientist, but I have to know, since you've sort of dabbled in all of them, which one's your favorite and why?
I'm grateful. It's nice to be specialized, but I really like the idea of being able to dabble into all, because that's how I was able to actually create, biolog,
Mhm.
because I know what to look for. So having that experience, and like I said, I was really immersed in it, where I was making chemicals and where I was doing microbiology, So even though it wasn't as specialized, it still gave me enough information where I understood the concepts and was able to connect them to all the other, sciences. So I can't really say that there's a favorite, because I'm gonna be honest with you, right now I'm enjoying microbiology because of what's going on with the pandemic. So
Right.
I've been actually, I partnered with an organization, and I'm actually teaching a germ detection session for middle and high school students. So right now, that's my love.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What is so since you brought it up, so what's your take on what is happening to us right now? This pandemic has sort of taken over everything, but from a scientist's point of view, what are you thinking? What do you know?
Well, okay, first of all, I'm not a virologist. Let me just make that clear.
Sure,
But I have
sure.
taken virology. I just want to make that clear. I'm a biologist, but let me just say that I think that right now, as we're speaking, that they have pushed us into herd immunity. And what herd immunity is basically is that they want as many people to get the virus. But, you know, the only issue with that is that we have those people who are immunocompromised, or, you know, and that's the elderly, as well as people who have diabetes or what have you. So that can sort of be an issue. But however, I think that if we had initially, you know, pretty much locked down and looked at the model of the other countries and what was happening there, if we were better prepared, I think that we may be coming out of it now. So right now, it just seems like people are scrambling for answers, and it's more important that, you know, you open the economy and, you know, keep that going. So, but I definitely say we're in herd immunity, where whoever gets infected, it's like survival of the healthiest. That's what it is.
Wow, wow. I've not heard that before.
Yeah.
That's wow. Okay. Like
Yeah.
I gotta sit with that one for a minute. Um, wow. Okay. If how has being a minority woman in STEM impacted your life?
Well, I have to say that it has been a challenge. You know, I cannot deny that. I'm sure that many others probably can, you know, identify with me. It has not been easy. And let me just say that the journey today still isn't easy. And I'm not sure that it will get any easier. You know, I've had a situation where, you know, you hear about conspiracies where, you know, someone was actually creating a conspiracy around me where they were trying to make it seem like, you know, I was incompetent, that I didn't know what I was doing, that they were fabricating stories about my work. And it was very difficult. And I have to say that, you know, if it wasn't for God, you know, I probably would not have survived it. But what kept me in it, because I could have easily quit and said, you know, let me just move on. But I find that a lot of times we quit and never know what the end result is. So I said, even if I get fired for something that I didn't do, at least I fought. And I
Right.
waited, but I actually was victorious because they had recruited like about 6 faculty in the department, and they all were collaborating and, you know, colluding against me. So it was really a very difficult time.
Wow, that's great. So here's a question for you in regard to this, because I feel like this is good. This is a way for us to help some young engineer or scientist or person in STEM who are may be going through a similar situation. Um, Once you get past the initial hurt, um, what was your first step?
Well, let me just say, I'm gonna be honest with you. Since I'm still in a place where some of, you know, these individuals, it's transferred to others. So it's like your reputation is shot. And let me just say what I had to do and what I recommend is that you create a brand outside of your workspace. And that's where I found that you know, it worked for me, because I was able to do publications. Because to be honest with you, we talk about the glass ceiling, but mine was even, you know, more than just the glass ceiling, with several layers, because of the fact that I have that reputation. And it's like, you can't continuously try to prove yourself to people, because people believe what they want to believe, and you don't know who's
True.
connected. So what I found was that I have to be who I am. And then by me creating this brand outside, that has really worked well for me, because it has afforded me other opportunities that I will not get or haven't got, you know, in my workspace. But I have to say that I have, you know, a great supervisor now, and she recognizes what I bring to the table.
And I think that's part of the struggle is that once these series of events go down, it's really hard to um, sort of be in that space, but still continue to do your work and be, you know, be professional. But that is what is expected of us as young STEM professionals. We have to keep we have to keep it moving, because we know
Absolutely.
that the stage is not set for us. It's set for other folks. And as soon as they see you shining,
Yeah.
then
Exactly.
it's yeah. But I'm glad that you do have a supervisor that is supportive. The other interesting thing that I think that you said was building a brand outside of your work, which I think is really important, because your reputation, you're not just what you do, you're not just where you work, you are so much more than that. So can you tell us what your business is and what that your reputation is? I mean, I feel like we've known each other for I don't know
Right.
how long we've known each
It's been
other.
a while. Right. It's been a while. It's been a
It's
while.
been a while.
Yeah.
And so it is always like, you need to know that when, I know when you show up, it's good as a wrap. It's going to be great. It's going to be over the top. People are going to walk away with new knowledge. They're going to be excited about science, or even if whatever it is that you're doing, they're going to be excited. So yeah, I mean, you're all good with
Thank
me.
you. Thank you.
But yeah, so tell the audience, the STEMming audience, what it is that you are doing
Okay, so
outside of your work.
yeah, okay, so basically, actually, how I started, Biolog Laboratorium is actually a hands-on space, without sharing what's happening now. But what happened was when I was working at the campus, and it was a predominantly white campus, I found that when I was teaching anatomy and physiology, the students that looked like me, they had a very difficult time with terminology and they were
Mhm.
intimidated by the content. So what I thought was, I think that this can be improved upon by early intervention. So what I decided to do was say, if you can get them as young as possible, you can sort of like mold them, for lack of a
Yes.
better word, you know what I mean? And then you can give them good habits and then remove that fear and give them a robust foundation. So it actually started with one of the maintenance people. He maintenance our microscopes at the lab, and he just happened to have some microscopes from Augusta Medical School, and he said, and I'm selling them for a nominal fee, and I said, okay, well, I'll treat myself to one, for Christmas. And when I saw the quality of the microscope, I said, you know what, I can start a program. So I started amassing more of them because they were so reasonable, and then I started partnering with organizations that had access to youth. And then I would go into the schools and then, do different types of science projects and experiments with them, because I find that, when you're doing hands-on, you get a better idea. It's not as abstract. And then
Yes.
you can inquire. So that's actually how I got into it. And then to me, so I was doing that for like, I think 6 years. So it was a natural progression to go into a space. So that's when I decided, I said, well, I can offer more, would be less taxing, because I was lugging around a lot of equipment. So
Mhm.
I'm in this space now, however, and it was doing well. It's not, exactly where I wanted it to be, because, a lot of people, especially in our community, still really haven't embraced STEM. They
Right.
don't realize the value of it. So, I still go out to schools and stuff like that. But now with this pandemic, the issue now is the hands-on.
Mhm.
So we're having to pivot, and so now that's why I'm doing a lot of the presentations online. So right now we're not operating. We don't want to put any children in jeopardy. We don't want to put ourselves in jeopardy. So we don't know what it's going to look like once it comes out of here. It may not be there because
Mhm.
of this situation, and we don't know how long this is going to go on.
Well, that's true, and unfortunate. But I know you well enough to know that whatever your pivot's going to be, it's gonna be fabulous.
Thank you. I'm working on it.
It's gonna be fabulous.
Thank you.
So, if you, well, I'll ask this question. So we already talked about how being a minority woman in STEM has impacted your life, but can you tell us what has been the greatest lesson you've learned as a minority woman in STEM?
Definitely. One thing is that first of all, you need to be strong. I wanted to emphasize that you have to be strong, and you don't know how strong you are until you go through a situation. And what I've learned is basically to remain professional at all times. Definitely, when you're in a situation, it may not be the best situation, the way somebody speaks with you, the way you're treated or something like that. I'm not saying not to address it, but I've learned just to remain professional, and not to just be so quick to give up. Don't give
Right.
up. So even though, like I said, I had that circumstance, I didn't give up, and it was really a difficult situation. So, but I definitely say you have to be strong, but you really don't know how strong you are until you go through a situation.
That's that's really that's really true. I mean, I can think of some situations when I was a mechanical engineer that, it's just like, how did I get through that? Because that was not, that was not good.
Exactly.
Um, but I think there's a matter of having a level of perseverance, and for me, I'm competitive. So it was just almost like I looked at it like, you are not going to beat me, you know.
Exactly. That's a good way
So
to look at it.
if
Yeah,
if
definitely.
if I decided to walk away, it was because I decided to walk away, and
Absolutely.
not necessarily
Absolutely.
because you told me that I had to go.
And that's important. And that's important that you make the decision based on what you want to do. And that's what I decided to do, you know? So exactly.
Yeah. So and so how does that lesson of being strong, how has that impacted your, what you're currently doing?
Well, I think, because what I find is that, people always want, when you're on social media, you put yourself out there. So there's no
Mm-hmm.
telling what's going to happen to you. And you have to be prepared for that. You know what I mean? And you can't be angry. So I just, I just make sure that I continue to be innovative and I continue to do my research and try to offer the best product possible as far as education and helping to prepare, youth. And I deal with all type, all races, I deal with everybody, but I definitely know that when a person that looks like me sees me, I've heard them say, oh, they're considering that profession, which is a good thing. So representation is really important. But I definitely think, you just have to be innovative and be who you are, be authentic. And, and then just do your thing, go for it. And, don't give up. Don't listen to the naysayers, just follow your mind and your heart and do what you think works for you and not try to be like anyone else.
Well, that's all that you can really ask of anybody, is to be themselves, and that has to be okay. I mean, it just has to be okay.
Absolutely.
So, would you say that mentoring has been an important part of your story so far?
As far as me being mentored,
Both you being
okay.
mentored, you being a mentor.
As far as me being mentored, I really wasn't fortunate enough to have that many mentors. So it kind of puts me like as being a trailblazer. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't fortunate to have that. Not that I haven't come across people who look like me, but it just wasn't something that they weren't willing to do because I think they were dealing with their own things. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Trying to make it for themselves. And that's the challenge sometimes when, when you have somebody who looks like you and they're going through the same situation or even, worse, and, because they're in a high capacity or something. So they really don't have that time, to do that. As far as me being a mentor, I have definitely mentored students. I even have students that I'm still mentoring, in college as well as in high school. And I think that works well because they reach out to me and I try to give them the best feedback that I can give them. So I think that has been pretty successful and I'm still connected with those individuals.
So, what do you think are some of the challenges with mentoring some of the girls that you are mentoring, or the people that you're mentoring?
Um, I think first of all, some of them don't know what direction to go into. Like they're not sure because a lot of them may not have had a solid foundation in a STEM field. So, I'm having to convince them that they can do it. Because the truth is, most of the people that go into STEM, a lot of time is because they have a parent that's in STEM. So they've been
Mm-hmm.
exposed to it. So when you're dealing with someone who has never been exposed to it and they don't have a strong, background in math or science, they're intimidated. And then you're looking at when, if you decide to go to college or something, your GPA, you may lose your scholarship or your funding or something like that because those subjects are challenging. But the thing is, you just, like you said, the word persevere, and you have to believe that you can do it because not everybody who is in STEM is an A student. That's
Right,
what people don't realize. You don't have to be an A student. If you do something long enough, you're going to get good at it.
right, right,
So,
right.
yeah. So, yeah.
So I often say to tell people, so because that's part of the reason why, I do this show, and why I'm, still working to make sure that there is diversity and inclusion in STEM, is in particular for women of colors. But mainly it's because I'm like, I've always wanted to reproduce myself. And I always tell people, like, I wasn't the brightest or smartest or anything. Like, I didn't graduate as
Right.
the valedictorian. I didn't,
Right.
it wasn't that at all, which goes to show you that you don't have to be mega smart. But I think
Exactly.
that's some of those stereotypes that
Absolutely.
exist out there. And I mean, even for parents who are listening to the episodes, like you have to know that you don't have to be a STEM person for your kid to be a STEM person.
Exactly.
Um, but those stereotypes are for real, and
Absolutely.
we need to be in the business of trying to knock those all down. You don't have to be the
Absolutely.
smartest. You have to have an interest and be willing,
Exactly.
and to
That's
to take a
right.
chance, to keep going,
That's
to do all
right.
those things that you really talked about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's, I think that's a part of the battle. So if, so you have a group of girls and boys that you mentor. Are you seeing any differences in between what, what your girls are talking about and what your young men are talking about?
Well, I can say this. Initially, when I was doing just the girls, I think there was a lack of confidence.
Hmm.
Now the boys, they just have that confidence. I don't know what, I guess, it's encouraged in school or something. I don't know. But what I'm seeing now is, after dealing with them for over a couple of years, I'm seeing that confidence in the
Hmm.
girls. The boys already had it.
Right.
So now when I have the two together, because I don't just mentor or work with girls, when I see the two together, now I see a great dialogue. Like this inquiry going on, and it's not like the girl is intimidated. I've actually seen that right before my eyes, and it was amazing. So I
Yes.
knew that, I was like, wow, something is really happening here, and this is great. So I think that's really what they need. Mentors are important, and they need representation, and they need someone to give them positive feedback and to encourage them. And so I've actually seen it with my own eyes, and it's just amazing.
Nice.
Mhm.
So you really, yeah, I think that's the thing that that part of the program, or part of what we've been doing in STEM has been missing, is that um, girls need, they just need a little bit more to boost themselves
Absolutely.
up. I don't know what that thing is that boys just are like, yeah, I can, I
Yeah,
can do this.
exactly. Right. Exactly. And look, they don't have to know the full, like, for some reason, we need to know all the details. They only need to know like a certain percent, like a very low percentage of it, and they're confident. So it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I guess that's why we sort of, the boys and girls, men and women go, we're sort of made two halves of the whole kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So it's like somebody's got to know the details, right?
Right. Exactly. That's true.
Somebody's got to.
Good point. Good point.
So. All right, so we generally end our interviews with asking this one last question. And it is, if you could revisit your younger self, what advice would you give her and why?
Um, I think that I would tell her, to take her time, and enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. Um, and another thing is, I would say, don't give up. Definitely, that's like I was saying, don't quit. I think that young girl emerged in me when I was going through that situation. I said, no, I can't quit. And the reason why I would tell her is because, you know, like I said, the journey may be long, and it may be, a lot of obstacles and it may be challenging, but you can definitely surmount it. You can definitely overcome it. So, and through strength. And I have to say, like I said, prayer was a big part of it too. So I'm not gonna lie. So that's definitely what I would tell me as the younger person.
Nice. So thank you for being on the show today. If people are looking for you, and I'm sure they will be looking for you, where can they find you?
Well, actually, I'm on Instagram under Biolog Lab or under Gladys Delancey Bolding. I'm on LinkedIn under Gladys Delancey Bolding, and then I'm on Facebook, Biolog Laboratorium. So I'm pretty much on all social media platforms as well as Twitter. So yeah,
Just look you up there.
that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's always good to see you. You look fabulous
Thank you
today.
so much, and thank you for inviting me, Natasha. I really appreciate. Thank you so much.
No problem at any time. It's always a good time when you're here. So
Appreciate it.
um, I appreciate you.
Okay.
And to my audience, until we can see each other or be with each other again, you guys take care of yourselves.